And it's great to hear that music on this Wednesday afternoon. That means it's time for Helping Seniors of Brevard. I'm John Harper at this side of the microphone, but right now I want to introduce to you the host and executive director of Helping Seniors of Brevard, none other than Kerry Fink. Hi, Kerry.
Hey, John Harper, and thank you, and happy Wednesday. Here we are. It's really hard to imagine we've already gotten to the 8th day of February in 2023. How are you doing this year, John?
Well, so far I've been doing pretty well, and I think the year is off to a good start. Very good start, as a matter of fact.
I think so, and I'm so excited about our guest in the studio. We gather around the radio every Wednesday at 12 noon to 1 p.m. right here on 90.3 WEJF. So welcome, listeners, for joining us on our Wednesday lunchtime gathering, and also those of you who may be catching us online at wejf.net. And hello also to the growing number of people who catch this as a podcast after the fact. But I wanted to take a moment to introduce our special guest today, because when we last checked in with him, we were just fresh off the new year and making our New Year's dental resolutions. And so without further ado, let me welcome to the Helping Seniors radio program none other than a longtime friend and just a great friend of the Helping Seniors organization. He's been there with Joe Steckler, our president and founder, literally every step of the way. He's noted area periodontist. I like to call him the father, occasionally grandfather of dental implants, but he's noted area periodontist, Dr. Lee Sheldon with Solid Bite Dental. How are you, sir?
Well, good, Kerry. And how are you today?
I am well. And I was just thinking,
good.
I was just thinking as we were talking about those New Year's dental resolutions on the program in January, to me, it was a fascinating program because as many times as we've sat down and talked, I learned something new every time that we're talking, and including like you kind of did it in code reveal, but you gave us ideas about mouthwash. You gave us ideas about toothpaste, and because this is non-commercial, we're nonprofit, so we're not here with any agenda other than what we're called to do, which is we're all about helping seniors. And so if you didn't get to hear that show, all of the programs are available both at our website, helpingseniorsofbrevard.org. You can get them on our YouTube channel. You can find them on Facebook page. And as I mentioned briefly before, every place you get podcasts. But Dr. Sheldon, one of the things that I love about this, what a perfect topic for radio, because you can get really close to the radio and not have to worry about bad breath.
I don't even have to worry about how I'm dressing today. I can do whatever I want, Kerry. So use your imagination. But yeah, we're going to talk about bad breath. I mean, listen, if we've got a $3 billion industry, if 200 million people in the United States are doing something to cover up whatever's in their mouth using mouthwash, shouldn't we be talking about it?
Yeah, you know, Dr. Sheldon, along the way, we've done numerous TV shows, radio shows. You've done articles about a lot of times how actually repairing things that are going on in your mouth can literally change your entire life. And we're talking about like that whole social world. You know, somebody says, well, I don't really want to go out on a date. I don't want to be out socially because I'm embarrassed about how my teeth look and things like that. And then there's many people who are like always, you know, trying to find the latest mouthwash or something because the issue is really they're concerned about, you know, is their breath going to offend somebody? And then on the other side of that, Dr. Sheldon, how many times have we run into somebody where we wish they would hear this radio show about bad breath?
So YouTube is going to be very, very important, and so is this radio station. I'll tell you, the last time that I suggested people call me, we got a few calls, and so there are people who are interested and are listening, and we're happy to help you with any problem you have. Let me just give you an email address. Just write to Dr. Lee at solidbite.com. If you have a dental question, just write to me, and I'll be happy to answer a question from this show or any other show or any concern that you might have. So just write to me, Dr. Lee at solidbite.com.
Well, it sounds good. So, you know, as we tackle these topics, and I know you've talked about this so often that really as you've grown your practice over the years, it's Sheldon and Furtado PLLC. So actually, your son, who is one of the was named one of the top 40 dentists under 40, and Dr. Michelle Furtado, who is also a periodontist in the practice. And you guys have always kind of focused on the fact that not only keeping your mouth healthy is just, it's pleasant because it's cosmetic and all these things, but it also could impact your health. And you've talked about some of the studies that you followed, some of the places that you've been asked to present on this whole finding that in fact, we talked about that a little bit in January, that so goes your mouth, so goes your health, and vice versa.
It's true. As a matter of fact, we're very happy to have had our group. There's a group of 5 of us who are of a similar age, and we're and our goal is to set standards for periodontal care, outcome standards, so that people know when they get treatment done that in fact the treatment has been effective. And this is a problem within society. Problem within the dental profession. We have some people who are getting periodontal treatment but really aren't getting results, and sometimes aren't being told that there are other ways or ways in which their dental health can be improved. And so we're approaching that on an organizational level to make sure the patients are informed whether their periodontal disease is in check or not. And if it's not in check, then at least they're informed that there are other alternatives and some alternatives that can be done that could be successful. So we were happy. We have published, last year we published 4 articles in the peer-reviewed literature, in the dental literature. And in January, actually it was accepted in December and it went online in January. We had an article published in the big journal, in the Journal of the American Dental Association. And in that it said it was a plea. It was a plea to the American Dental Association and other dental organizations to set outcome standards. What are the outcomes that we expect, and what do we and how do we inform our patients of that? So the fact that it went to a general dental journal rather than a periodontal journal, that meant a lot. And then it was reviewed. That article was reviewed by an online reviewing service, which every dentist gets. So nearly every dentist gets the Journal of the American Dental Association, and nearly every dentist gets this review organization or organization that looks at literature that pertains to dentists. It's called Dr. Bicuspid. And we were reviewed quite favorably in Dr. Bicuspid as well. So our hope is that this year will be a year when outcomes standards are set, or at least the research is being done. We've done the research, but we understand that organizations have to do their own research before they're going to come up with such guidelines. But we're hoping to get those standards set and to at least set the stage to be able to help patients that we'll never see, to make sure that their health is being improved and that they don't lose their teeth unnecessarily.
Yeah, it's so important. And listener, as we've talked about so many times, I love to brag on Dr. Lee Sheldon because over the years, his practice is that kind of practice where periodontists literally from all over the country. And in fact, I guess what we're just understanding now is now even general dentists all over the country look to you and the group that you represent as kind of like always being on the cutting edge of this. And how cool is that it all happens right here from Melbourne, Florida?
Little Melbourne, Florida. Now, our other people are in much bigger places like Kansas City, like Dallas, like Phoenix, like San Diego, California, and then there's little Melbourne. So yeah, little Melbourne is represented. That's good.
I used to say this was the world's best kept secret about what a great place we live in, but I think everybody's discovering Florida now and joining us here. So it's fine. Come on. But let's go back to the topic. Let's talk about bad breath. Dr. Sheldon, do people come into the office? How often does it happen? Somebody walks in and says, hey, listen, I got to get my breath under control. Does that actually happen?
Yeah, it does happen. Yeah, people understand that. They hear it from somebody else. You can't smell your own bad breath. I know there's that thing where you can put your hand in front of your face and breathe on your hand so that so whatever you're breathing out will go back in your nose. That doesn't work all that hot. Most people can't smell their own bad breath. But the fact is that we try to look at so many different areas and say, well, it's got to be my stomach. It's got to be my sinus. No, it isn't. It's your mouth. It's your mouth that's causing your bad breath. Yeah. Are there a few stomach issues? Are there a few sinus issues that will cause this? Throat issues? Yeah, occasionally, very occasionally. But bacteria resides wherever it can. Just think, if you were a bug, where would you hide? Well, if I were a bug, I would hide around the gum line where I'm hoping a toothbrush won't get to me. And then I would creep down below the gum line. So now, even if a toothbrush tried, it couldn't get to me. And I would just sit there and I would fester and I would grow. I would develop my own little smelly family. And that smelly family would deposit gases in your mouth that go right out at your friends and your family. That's what's going on for most people.
Wow. So when you think about this, that's probably why the grocery store always has seems like half an aisle full of different kind of mouthwash or different kind of things like that. But I guess one of this may be a tip off. I'm not sure, but I think one of the things I learned in the show that we did on January about those New Year's dental resolutions was that you really want to think about the mouthwash that you're using, because I guess what I walked away with as a layperson was that they're not all created equal, and that there are certain things that you need to look for ingredient wise in a mouthwash. And I realize that's probably just like scraping the surface, if you will, of this whole topic.
It's true. And if we're looking at mouthwashes, then we're looking at, if we go back to that last show, we were talking about a mouthwash, but still, with all of the mouthwashes that we have, they're still covering up what the basic problem might be. Now, that doesn't mean that onions don't stink. They do. And you use a mouthwash to cover up onions, that's fine. And if you have garlic, you eat the garlic, it's going to go right through your system. It's going to go right through your pores. There's nothing you can do about garlic. But that constant smell, that constant odor that a person gets is likely due to a bacterial infection in the mouth. Or it can be due to, there are a number of different reasons. The first reason that we have is plaque, and plaque that creeps below the gum line. That's what I was referring to before. And so, you see, if you have a chronic bad breath problem, yes, you can cover it up with a mouthwash for a while. But if it's a chronic bad breath problem, isn't it much better to go to the source, to find the source of the problem? And the source of the problem is very often the periodontal pocket, the bacteria that creeps below the gum line that just sits there and it produces a gas, and that gas is going to be produced 24/7, and that's going to just be expressed out, and people are going to smell it. Kerry, there are different types of bacteria in the mouth, and some of them are smellier than others. Huh. And so if you have a particular smelly bacteria, then, that's going to extend beyond the confines of your mouth farther than some of the less smelly bacteria. So today's show is more, where's this coming from? And what should I do about it? Not the mouthwashes. What should I do about this particular problem? So the first thing is plaque, and plaque is not going to be removed with mouthwashes, not going to be removed with toothpaste. It's going to be removed with brush and floss, usually a mechanical device. So that's the first thing we do. That's what you can do at home. And if you do that thoroughly once a day, you're going to rid yourself of the plaque bacteria that resides at the gum line. So that's the first thing. But if the plaque creeps down below the gum line and starts to cause gum inflammation and swelling and pus and bone loss, then we've got a far more aggressive type of bacteria, and we've got something that then needs to be treated. And it might need to be treated by a dentist or by a periodontist. So it is bacteria that we're looking at first. Now, There are a lot of people who are taking medications. Most of our audience is taking some kind of medication. Mm-hmm. There are 500 medications, probably more now. The last time I looked at it was a few years ago. There are 500 medications that cause the mouth to be dry.
Wow.
Well, when the mouth is dry, the mouth becomes acidic, acids. The bacteria on a dry mouth will reside on the tongue, the soft tissues, the floor of the mouth, the palate. And it will just stay there because it's not being washed out by anything. You know, if you have a drink of water, that reduces, for people who don't have any disease, if you have a drink of water, you wake up, you wake up with that smelly morning breath, all that kind of stuff. You just drink some water, drink some coffee, something like that. A lot of that's going to go away. Most people aren't going to smell you at all, even if you don't brush your teeth. I'm talking about for the non-disease person. But for the person who has, for the person who has dry mouth, that's probably the first solution. Wet your mouth, and that's going to take care of the problem. The bacteria will be washed away simply as a result of a little bit of rinsing, but a little bit of drinking water. That's all you need. So that's the non-bacterial cause of bad breath, that bacteria that just resides on the tissues. And chances are, if you're taking a blood pressure medication, a cholesterol medication, a steroid, anything that would change your body in some way, one of the first things that happens is you have a reduced salivary flow. And you know that. And as we get older, we have a reduced salivary flow anyway. So our mouth becomes dry, becomes parched, and that bacteria, that acid-producing bacteria, just resides right on top of the surfaces of those soft tissues.
Wow. So this is really a fascinating conversation. We're talking with Dr. Lee Sheldon, noted area periodontist with Sheldon and Furtado, PLLC. A lot of people know him here in the greater Melbourne area as Solid Bite Dental. And we're having this conversation about bad breath. And I think one of the things that's interesting for me, Dr. Sheldon, as we're talking about this, is when you kind of make the comment, like a mouthwash or something like that is kind of like putting a Band-Aid on a problem, where you really want to get into really, what's kind of the root cause of this. And I was thinking, so many people talk about, morning breath and things like that. And as you're kind of like busting through some of these myths of things, I'm kind of hearing back to a lot of the things that were on our top dental resolutions, right? Already, we're talking about making sure that we are using the right kind of toothbrush, because what I hear you telling us is that for the most part, we have a lot of control over this if we'll apply the right tools to start making a difference with it.
Oh, we do. I had a patient who was I said, "Are you using an electric toothbrush?" She said, "Yeah." I said, "Which one?" She says, "The one that spins." And she just was complaining about gum recession. The one that spins causes gum recession.
Oh, wow.
So if you're going to get an electric brush, you don't want the spin brush, the one that spins. I shouldn't say spin brush because I believe that's a brand name. You don't want the one that spins. You want the one that reciprocates. In other words, it goes back and forth. So there are, I can give you a price. If you go to one of the stores and you're picking up an electric brush, and by the way, in my opinion, everybody should have an electric brush. I've been using an electric brush for my entire career. Why shouldn't you be using one as well? An electric brush is just going to be that more efficient at taking care of and removing the bacteria from the mouth, bacteria from the teeth. You've got to think of it. There's two motions. One is placing the brush in the right position. The other one is actually making the brushing motion. Well, if all you have to do is worry about putting the brush in the right position and let the mechanics of the electric brush take care of the rest, you're going to do a better job and your mouth is going to get cleaner. So the rule that I can give you is spend at least $60 on your electric toothbrush. Now, that'll last you for probably 10 years. You'll have to get some refills. The brush part of it will wear out. That's replaceable for a couple of bucks. But the handle itself and the recharging unit, all of that should be about $60 or more. The electric toothbrush that I use, I think, costs around $150. Okay, so you will do better as you go up in price. But if you're looking for minimum $60 at one of the stores, you'll do just fine. And what you want is one that reciprocates. It goes back and forth, or you want one that has sonic waves, or it vibrates sonically. If you've got that, you have a good chance of having a good brush that's going to serve your needs.
Wow. I think a lot of this is fascinating from the standpoint, again, we're talking about how to get a handle on bad breath, or maybe another way to put it is how to get away from bad breath. But one of the things that you're talking about is, again, how I'm fascinated by how interwoven the concept of bad breath is, again, with good dental hygiene, right? Because here we are, we're really talking about not Band-Aiding it by sloshing mouthwash over it. What we're really trying to do is make your mouth healthier. At the same time, you're kind of like getting rid of this odor. Am I saying that the right way?
You're saying it the right way. So let's assume that you have a minor problem, not one that requires the attention of a periodontist. We talk about using floss. And by the way, I use floss picks. That's the pre-mounted floss is on the plastic pick, and the other side of the pick is like a toothpick. And they're relatively inexpensive. You can go to the dollar store and pick those up and pick a lot of them up for $1. I use that because I don't like winding floss around my fingers. I would much rather have the floss pre-mounted, and it's cheap enough that you can do that. You saw the floss between your teeth, and then realize that when you're in between your teeth, you're actually cleaning two teeth. Cleaning the tooth on the right, cleaning the tooth on the left. And what you're doing is not snapping out food particles in the middle, but what you're doing is running that floss vertically up and down and cleaning the tooth in the area that you can't reach with the brush. And so you go up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down until it squeaks a little bit. Then move over to the adjacent tooth in that same space and go up and down, 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 up and down until that squeaks a little bit. And then you have that tooth clean. So if you're thinking about floss to remove food particles, that's snapping the floss between the teeth and getting out food particles. What we're talking about here is plaque removal. And plaque isn't food. Plaque is bacteria. And that bacteria is accumulating on that tooth whether you eat or not. And if you get a good electric brush, you'll be able to clean the tooth on the front side and on the back side, but you still have 60% of the tooth in the area in the middle. That's where floss or other brushes, and we talked about an interproximal brush, a brush that goes between the teeth. Cleaning between the teeth is very important. That will, if you have bacteria that's been accumulating over a long period of time, your gums are bleeding, and that has a smell to it, then by removing that, the bleeding will stop, provided you don't have severe periodontal disease, and you'll end up with a cleaner mouth and an odor-free mouth.
Everything we're talking about, I keep coming back to why you get so many benefits out of doing these fairly simple and routine actions if you do them correctly, right? We're talking about the brushing and the flossing, because not only are you getting rid of the bad breath, but you're actually improving your mouth health. And like we've talked about over and over, Dr. Sheldon, at the end of the day, that's probably beneficial to your overall health as well. So,
I had a couple of patients this week. Are we going from a commercial break, or we have a couple of minutes?
Well, we're getting ready to take our mid-show break here. Okay. We've been talking with Dr. Lee Sheldon, who is a noted area periodontist here in the Florida area, and we are just having a good time exploring all the facets of bad breath. And we'll continue to work on this, and maybe together we can eradicate bad breath in the coming year. What a great New Year's resolution that would be. So really looking forward to having that conversation. Again, you're listening to the Helping Seniors of Brevard radio show. We'll be back for the second half in just a moment.
And welcome back to more of Helping Seniors of Brevard. I'm John Harper. Let's get the second half of the show underway with your host and the Executive Director of Helping Seniors of Brevard. Here's Kerry Fink. Kerry?
Thank you, John Harper. It's great to be with you on Wednesday, like we get to do every Wednesday. It's our lunchtime gathering around the radio here at 90.3 FM, WEJF Radio, a powerful station broadcasting all throughout Brevard County, as we like to say, from Micco to Mims, but it actually goes farther than that. We can talk about listeners in Orlando and actually down in Indian River County and so on and so forth. And so we want to welcome all of you who are making the Helping Seniors radio show part of your Wednesday routine. And thanks for being here. We always try to give you information, as our president and founder, Joe Steckler, talks about. We're always about helping you develop your aging plan, which euphemistically we call getting your ducks in a row. But what we're really about is improving the quality of your life by giving you some thoughts and ideas and some background and some information from experts who really know what they're talking about, so that you can really make the best of your life at any age. And so want to welcome you on the radio, those listening online, WEJF.net, and those who catch us as a podcast, or maybe find it on YouTube or Facebook or the Helping Seniors website at helpingseniorbrevard.org later on. So today we've been having a great conversation with noted area periodontist and longtime friend of the Helping Seniors organization. His name is Dr. Lee Sheldon, and he is with Sheldon and Furtado, PLLC, right there on Sarno Road in Melbourne, where you, together with your son, who's a general dentist, Dr. Matt Sheldon, and also Dr. Michelle Furtado, who is also, like you, a very well-trained and very competent a periodontist. And today our topic is something we all want to get away from, called bad breath.
And so here we are. We're smelling our own breath right now and saying, do I have breath? Why am I rinsing out? What's the best mouthwash to use? And so far, I've barely touched that subject. So we are talking about bad breath, because we're talking about bad breath because bacteria accumulates in the mouth, and we got to remove that stuff. And remove that stuff, then you've got a very good chance of get rid of bad breath. Let's start. We referred to, so far we talked about bacteria in the gum line that causes periodontal disease and how we remove that. There's some smelly bacteria, some are less smelly bacteria, and we don't know which ones we have, so let's just remove all of it with brush and with floss. Second we talked about was that on the surface of the tissues, if you have dry mouth, that will accumulate bacteria, and just rinse your mouth and with water, and you're going to do better. But what about foods? We talked about foods a little bit at the beginning. Okay, so let's assume that you have onions. What do you do about onions? Now, onions does reside, it stays in the mouth. It does go through the body as well. It goes through the pores, but not like garlic does. So onions, that's where some of these cover-up mouthwashes work really, really well. Now, you'll see that some of these mouthwashes, they claim that they work for 12 hours. I guarantee you, if you have onions, it's not going to work for 12 hours. You're going to have to use it more frequently than that, because then you're looking up for the cover-up to get rid of that onion smell that's just going to reside in the tissues and just isn't going to go away at all. So that's where you need a good mouthwash. There are a number of good mouthwashes on the that you can get at the store. I would suggest try the one that feels best to you and see what works the best. I happen to use a zinc chloride mouthwash, but that's how I feel. That's what I think works the best, or at least for me. But there are a number of different mouthwashes on the market. You can try one so you can have your onions and still not be too smelly.
I wanted to ask you about mouthwashes without going into name brands or anything like that, because we were all raised on commercials that talk about different mouthwashes. I remember one very prominent brand name that the guy used to come on and say, the taste you hate twice a day, because it would burn your mouth out. Is there any truth to the fact that the harsher the mouthwash is, the more effective it is, or is that just great marketing by some New York ad person?
Oh, I think some of it is marketing, but actually some of those products, particularly the one that's very, very harsh, does kill it does kill germs that cause bad breath. So, I mean, there are chemicals in there that actually do work.
Wow.
I don't use that one myself, but it has been studied, and there are some reasonable studies on that do show bacterial reduction using that particular harsh mouthwash. You're talking about the one that's kind of yellow color, correct?
Yeah, exactly. And like I said, they almost made their they took the negative and tried to make it feel positive. Like, yeah, I know it's not pleasant, but this is really helping you. And I always wondered about that. Is that really true? Because there's other, I guess I would call it sweeter tasting mouthwashes that leave your mouth minty clean that don't necessarily kind of give you that much of a harsh reaction. So yeah,
it's true, because these are called essential oils. And so, essential oils, you've got eucalyptus, you got menthol, you got thymol, you got methyl salicylate. All of these are essential oils that you can find. If you went to a health food store, you'd be able to get some of these essential oils all by themselves.
Wow.
And they do have disinfecting ability. So I would not, this particular mouthwash is not going to solve a periodontal disease problem. You have to mechanically get in there and get the bacteria off because the bacteria is stuck on the root surfaces. But when we're talking about getting rid of the bacteria that's on the surface, yeah, this stuff works very, very well.
Wow. Well, interesting to know. Again, we're talking with noted area periodontist Dr. Lee Sheldon, and our topic of the day is bad breath, which is never pleasant to be around. And we're actually talking about really an interesting discussion that, as we've talked about all along on so many of the radio shows where we talk about good dental hygiene, is not only appropriate to getting rid of the bad breath, as we're learning today, but it's actually, as kids, I guess we were always raised, brush your teeth so you don't get cavities. But far more important, I guess, what we're really learning each time we sit down and talk, Dr. Sheldon, is about the importance of the things that maybe we can't actually see. We're talking about like below the gum line, and that's why getting that exam is so important. Is that the right way to think about it?
I think the examination is important, and we've talked about that in a number of different shows and the importance of getting a good periodontal exam done. You can't, if 42% of the people in the United States have periodontal disease, that's a lot of people, and so we do have to get that identified. And this is one of those diseases where if you find it early, you can get it treated and you'll save your tooth or teeth. And if you let it fester, then you'll lose more and more bone support for the tooth will get loose and fall out. So, but there's a lot of time between the time you get the disease and the time that your tooth falls out. So there's a lot of time within which this can be intercepted, and the earlier you intercept it, the better it is for you because you haven't lost as much bone support if you catch it early in the game rather than later in the game. So using a periodontal probe, I know people don't like the probe, although somebody who's good with the probe, I probe badly diseased patients, because that's what walks into our office. That's the type of patient who walks in. The probing exam can still be very comfortable as long as the person who's doing the probing has good control of the probe itself. And so if you're probing, you're using the probe and you're placing the probe down below the gum line until I meet some resistance, something that keeps my probe from going much farther. When I meet that resistance, I stop. And if my numbers that I'm calling out, the number of millimeters when I'm going below the gum line is 3 millimeters or less, for the most part, that tooth is okay. If it's more than 3 millimeters, then it means there's a problem. And the deeper I'm able to place that probe below the gum line, the more bone support has been lost, and the worse the problem is.
So I love when we started the show out, Dr. Sheldon, and we were talking about bad breath, and you were really talking about at the outset when we were mentioning just mouthwashes and things like that. You said part of that is literally just kind of like band-aiding the problem or whatever. And yet to some degree, we probably want to look at the bad breath as possibly a sign that we really want to take advantage of going in there and finding out what's going on and solve the problem. Because you and I have done so many radio shows along the way where we've talked about people come in and say, I'm done with my teeth, just yank them all out, do something different. And as a periodontist, a lot of times you'll say, let's slow the roll here and let's see what's really going on before we just go wholesale off on something like that. Because what you've also educated us along the way is that not just ripping out the teeth is necessarily the healthiest thing to do, because you could get problems possibly down the road, with your mouth anyway, even if you pull out a bad tooth or something like that. So
I think there are a lot of opportunities here when we can save teeth, and our first goal is to save teeth. Now, sometimes it's just not practical to do so. Sometimes it just costs too much money. I'll give you an example. I saw a patient yesterday, and she was in her 50s and had this is probably the fourth time I've seen her over the past 8 or 9 years, where she's come in and then she's left, and she's come in and she's left. She really didn't do anything except eat a lot of sugar, and now. And so she had seen another dentist. The dentist has suggested that she get some treatment done. And I looked at her and said, it's not going to make any sense for you to spend money on these teeth. Yeah, you can get the root canal, but so many other teeth around it are rotting. Why are we going to spend money on a root canal on one tooth when the rest of the teeth are rotting away? And the reason they're rotting away, by the way, is because she's eating a lot of sugar. Okay, and we detail the types of sugar that she was eating. She's eating a lot, and she can't get away from it. Well, even if it's getting off the subject a little bit, but let's cover it because it's a recent experience that I've had, and I see these experiences more than I'd like. If a patient's tooth is rotting away or teeth are rotting away, either that person has to have a complete change in his or her habit patterns, or the saliva has to come back, or something, whatever's causing this this decay to continue to occur. If that isn't reversed, we can do all the repair that we want. Still, the things that cause the decay are going to cause whatever restoration we put in to fail. And so at the outset, when we're looking at a patient like this, I'm saying it's just not worth it to spend the money on these teeth. You're going to spend tens of thousands of dollars on these teeth. They're not going to make it. Well, so the next step is, I can't afford dental implants. And the third thing was, I just had a friend who lost her teeth and her mouth collapsed. So these are all of her concerns, and she's a good-looking woman. And so far, she's not ready to stop the sugar. Mm-hmm. Well, in taking the CT scan, I was able to see the development of her jaw in 3 dimensions. And she had good bone development. So I could assure her at that point that, yes, you can have the teeth taken out. Yes, you can have a denture made, and you're still not going to jeopardize your ability to have implants placed later on. In other words, your jaw isn't going to disappear. You're not going to look like the 101-year-old grandma. So that gave her some reassurance. So now we're saying, all right, I can't afford dental implants. It's not worthwhile spending money on repairing cavities and doing crowns and root canals and things like that. All right, let's see. This may be the correct step where we extract the tooth and put a denture in, and now save your money for the implants that you'll want later on so you can chew better than you could with a denture. So there's a lot to this diagnosis. It's not just, I got a cavity. I've got periodontal disease. It's also, what's the consequence of treating, not treating, and that varies from individual to individual.
As we're having this conversation, it's almost like a natural segue into something I did want to kind of wrap up. You guys have an interesting date coming up on your calendar, as if you're a listener, you may or may not know. Dr. Sheldon's office, Solid Bite, was once again, 10th year in a row, voted best of Brevard in the I guess that's the Florida Today thing, right?
That's correct. Yes.
And so you guys are putting together something called Patient Appreciation Day that's coming up actually very soon. And the reason I want to kind of highlight it is you want people, if I'm calling it right, I think you want people to understand about the Care to Share program, where you guys are working with nonprofits like Helping Seniors of Brevard, where you make available the opportunity to really get a thorough understanding examination of what's going on in your mouth. And in exchange for that, you're basically receiving that for free, just for a donation to your Helping Seniors charity, or actually one of the charities that's on your list. But talk a little bit both about the program and how that helps. Like if somebody is concerned about bad breath, why getting in and having the diagnosis may really be an important tool that will help them, but also help you help them. And then talk whatever you want to explain about Patient Appreciation Day. It sounds like a fun day.
Yeah, it is. And we'll talk about the examination first. The examination is very simple. You come in, you have routinely patients will say to me, that's the most or that's the best dental examination I've ever had. Okay. And by the way, the next thing they say to me, thanks for being so honest. I'm not a salesman. You know, I may sound like one because I'm on the radio all the time. I'm not a salesman. What I'm there is to be able to at least give you different alternatives that I think are going to be predictable. And that's what occurs in that 2-hour session that you have in our office. And so all you do is call the office at 321-259-8000. You talk to one of our staff, say, I heard Dr. Sheldon on the radio, and I want to take advantage of the special, the Helping Seniors of Brevard special, and they'll know exactly what to do. And they'll be able to give you that give you an appointment, and I look forward to meeting you and helping you to achieve your goals. Sometimes we're a good fit for you. Sometimes we're not. That's not as important as getting the comprehensive evaluation. So at least you know on a full mouth basis what my expectations are for you and what can be done. And then we just take it from there. With regard to Patient Appreciation Day, that is on a Saturday, and that'll be at our office at 2223 Sarno Road in Melbourne. Sarno, if you're not familiar with the area, Sarno. It'll be at 11 a.m. from 11 to 2. The doctors will be there. The staff will be there. A nice coffee truck will be there, from what I understand, and we'll be able to talk to you and celebrate 10 years of Best of Brevard. That's an important milestone for us. Now, Kerry, I heard there's a rumor that there's going to be a Dr. Sheldon dunking booth. Is that correct?
Oh, I love the sound of that. What do we have to do? Donate to throw things at you, or how does that work?
You have to donate a lot of money. It's a lot more than $50.
Oh, okay.
Actually, the staff was talking about having a Dr. Duncan booth. I think it was vetoed by the owners of the practice. Notice I'm no longer the owner of the practice.
Well, I know I got to see a preview flyer, and it says raffles and prizes. So it sounds like it's going to be a fun morning out.
I'm sure it will be. Danielle, who's been my longtime office manager, is helping to coordinate that entire thing. And by the way, you'll see Helping Seniors of Brevard will be there. We'll have a booth for Helping Seniors of Brevard, correct?
I was going to say absolutely. Nancy Deerdorf, who is our operations director, has already put the time onto the calendar because we want to be there for it. Get the word out about helping seniors, and a little bit selfishly, Dr. Sheldon, since you are on Sarno Road, there's another big building just down the street from you that always takes great importance in our helping seniors fundraising efforts, and I'm talking about Mark Pylock's American Muscle Car Museum, which is literally just, probably within a mile or so of your office, just a little bit as we get on the other side of, what is that? Is that Wickham Road? I'm trying to remember.
Yes, it is the other side of Wickham Road.
So the thing is, we will also have information when we're out there on Saturday, February 25th. I think it's 11 a.m. to 2. Is that right?
That's correct. 11 to 2.
Yeah. So we're going to actually have information on now what is becoming the 7th annual Helping Seniors Car Raffle. So as Joe Steckler, our president and founder, likes to talk about, he and AJ Hires, the car dealer, car dealer extraordinaire in our area. He's got one of everything. They've been working on car raffles to fund charity. Joe says going back into the last century. Well, this is our 7th annual, and it is truly what keeps the Helping Seniors of Brevard moving forward. So once again, Joe and AJ worked it out where this year, because AJ is building another dealership, he's building a Mitsubishi dealership. Perhaps you've seen it right there on US 1. It's actually pretty close to the Mazda dealership he's got there at the corner of US 1, and I believe that's NASA. But anyway, where they are. So now the winner this year, the deal has always been a winner gets a brand new car from the AJ Hires, Boniface Hires family of dealerships. So again, this year, one last time, because they're telling us this is the last year for the Dodge Challenger, but they have promised us they're going to secure a 2023 Dodge Challenger, which is now rapidly becoming a collector's item. And it's going head to head once again with the Chevrolet Camaro. Once again, the winner can choose their choice of one of those cars. They could also take a Mazda Miata convertible, which Dr. Sheldon, we've talked about before. That's a pretty cool car where you could be like rolling around beachside looking pretty cool in that.
That'd look weird.
Well, okay. I'll leave that to you. But also, Kia Sportage has been one of the choices. Our winner, not last year, but the year before, chose that one. And then this year, we're also adding a Mitsubishi Outlander, which is a cool little SUV to the choices. So that date, which you also want to put on your calendar, is Saturday, October the 7th. Saturday, October 7th, we're going to do the grand drawing at the American Muscle Car Museum. In fact, we actually kind of just officially kicked this off February 4th and 5th at a couple of car shows. So we're going to have information when you come out to Patient Appreciation Day at Solid Bite. We're going to have information. You could probably get your tickets right there from Nancy. I'm sure she'll have them. But you definitely want to be out at Dr. Sheldon's office Saturday, February 25th, 2223 Sarno Road, Melbourne. Now, do they need to do anything other than show up? Is it just, hey, bring the family and let's have a great Saturday there?
That's all they have to do. I don't know if there's registration or not. What does it say on the flyer? I forgot.
It just says, thank you to our dedicated patients for making us best in Brevard for 10 years running, featuring, and I like this, Espresso Yourself coffee truck, specialty coffees and pastries on us. So meet the charities we support, as well as our staff and doctors, and bring your friends and family. So it just sounds like a fun time.
It does. And we will be there. And if you have questions about what's going on in your mouth, of course, we can't say anything until we look at you. But if there are questions or concerns or dental concerns, we're happy to talk about that. But mainly it's to celebrate. It's I'm really, really proud of what this office has become since as we developed it. And now as I'm winding down.
Yeah, it really is. It really is an amazing thing, Dr. Sheldon, because not only have you been a great friend to the Helping Seniors world, literally your relationship with Joe goes back to when Joe was trying to get Helping Seniors off the ground all those years ago. Now we're in our 12th year of service in the community. And yet you were there back helping him as he was building those Joe's clubs for Brevard Alzheimer's as well.
Yeah, Joe, I think Joe and I began sometime in it was the mid-90s.
Yeah, because you brought him to
my TV show.
Yeah. Right.
So that's mid-90s. That was a long time ago. My goodness.
It's been a while. It's good. It's been a while, but it's good.
It's 30 years.
Yeah. So another reason for folks to come out for Patient Appreciation Day, it sounds like it's going to be a fun day out there on Saturday, February 25th. Like I said, Nancy Deerdorf, our operations director from the Helping Seniors Group, is going to be there. And then we're celebrating the fact that once again, for 10 years in a row now, you guys are named Best of the Best of Brevard. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, and we're proud of that, and you'll see the staff people here who I just love, I adore, and they've been here for many, many years, and you'll see why I still like being here when I could be retired.
Yeah, well, as we get down to the wrap up here, just to make sure if somebody's been hearing us talk about our topic, our more serious part of the conversation about bad breath and all the things that it means, not only in terms of socially, but possibly health-wise, and you say, hey, this has intrigued me. I need to really understand what's going on here. Maybe I want to take advantage of that care to share kind of approach. How, again, do they reach the office, and what do they need to do if it's something that they're interested in?
Just say Helping Seniors of Brevard and call the office 321-259-8000. Say you want an examination, and my staff will arrange for you to have that examination for a donation of $50 or more to Helping Seniors of Brevard County.
No, it's wonderful. Hey, listen, a couple of real quick things before we go too. So excited. You've probably been hearing, if you've been connected with Helping Seniors for a while, you're probably going to see a letter in your mailbox from our president and founder, Joe Steckler. It's called our annual fund drive. If you know Joe, he's pretty particular that we don't beat people over the head. We just let you know we got to have your help to keep the organization going. So we really only do a couple of things fundraising wise at the beginning of the year. Ever since Helping Seniors starts, he sends out that letter saying, we need your help. Please step up and help. And then, of course, we have fun with a car raffle as we go along. But one of the things that's really important for us this year, Dr. Sheldon, is that we have that brand new facility, the Senior Resource Center Brevard, that we're putting together with the great help of our friends, Dr. Delegdish and the entire group over at Omni Healthcare, where they have kindly made space available for us in that Omni Healthcare building. They call it the Apollo Professional Plaza. It's literally right over there next to the hospital on Apollo Boulevard in Melbourne. And we're going to have 5,500 square feet where we're going to be able to not only have some training classes, some seminars, do our media in-house. There's a lot of exciting things coming up. So when you get that letter from Joe, by all means, please prayerfully, thoughtfully consider supporting the work of Helping Seniors. It's a good place. Joe, as you know, runs things lean and mean, and he's always concerned about making sure there's no fat in the overhead. Everything is going 100% into serving seniors. And so when you get that letter, or if you'd like to get that letter, just give us a call at 321-473-7770. Nancy will make sure you know all about it. So that's the time we have. Thanks, Dr. Sheldon. We'll see you next week on Helping Seniors Radio.